Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Treasure House Collective. We are the Mystic Sisters, Ariel
and Shannon.
And today we're going to be sharing a little story. In fact, the origin story of the Treasure House.
How it all started.
Where it all began. Once upon a time. So where should we start?
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, let's do it.
Way back.
I'm
talking to childhood.
Okay.
And you know why I'm starting with childhood?
Why is that?
Because that's where all the magic was happening. In your room, at your house.
This is very true.
And so I want to know a little bit more about what was going on in your room, because it was magical for me.
So that's where all the magic was born, found, created. Well, I would just say, as far as the birthplace or the origin story, the origin of the birthplace, doula over here, the birthplace of the Treasure House, not only was it my childhood bedroom, or does my childhood bedroom come to mind, but I would say that my childhood home itself was really the OG Treasure House. It was the first environment where I remember unconditional love, being fully supported and celebrated, where I could just be my full, authentic, true, expressive, expansive, creative self as a child.
I love that. And I mean, just to kind of add to it, when I think about the Treasure House Collective being a space, which, you know, we'll get into that more, of where different people can come and be. I mean, you lived in a multi-generational home as well. And I feel like there was just always space. It didn't matter what your age, race, beliefs were. Like, everyone was welcome in that space. And that's kind of what I remember about your home, and not just specifically your room being like the fun spot, but like your home, just everyone was welcome.
This is very true. I mean, you're right about, just where the collective, or where we envision the collective evolving or growing towards, just being a very welcoming environment. In the spaces that we create and how we bring people in, it's where everyone is accepted and welcome. And that's how I felt growing up within a multi-generational household. But going back to what you were saying about my childhood bedroom, that was essentially like the headquarters for myself as a child. It was like my imagination station. Like, Shannon and I both grew up as only children. And being an only child, I always say that I was an only child, but never a lonely child, because I had myself as like essentially like my own sibling, my own bestie, but my imagination served as just the worlds that I could create within my own space, in my own solitude. And I didn't really have a lot of like wild dreams, or maybe one sole dream of like what I wanted to be. But I do just remember being very happy and being very present in my own space, in my own bedroom, to just express myself in so many different ways. I just had all sorts of creative outlets and ways of expressing myself. But when I would host parties, like sleepover parties or birthday parties,
or even just like one-on-one,
even having one-on-one hangouts, my room was essentially the place to be. And even thinking about like my mom being there as a host, like when I would have friends over for birthday parties, like there would be all sorts of creative activities and arts and crafts, and it was just like bringing my friends into that world with me, and that was always really fun.
I mean, we always, I think, come back to childhood no matter what. Like, when we look at our careers or we look at something that we're doing or we're passionate about as adults, if you really take it back, peel back the layers, there's some type of origin point in childhood where you had this interest. And so even though it's like, okay, lots of people had sleepovers or, they had a house birthday party, but this was literally the seed that was being planted for you. Like, it was just so much more than that. And that's for you on a personal level. But then just like for me, as somebody who did not have like sleepovers or a lot of people at my house, I just always felt welcome, and that's special because not everybody's home has that feeling of welcomeness, or that kind of openness. So it was something special.
Thanks for saying that. No, and that's essentially like how I want the treasure house to be really a recreation of that, a space where people feel welcome, but also a place of fun,
Yeah.
Where we can have all sorts of creative activities and can invite our inner childs in to be nurtured in the spaces that we create together. So,
and it's a gift when you can bring people from all walks of life into your house. You had your church friends, your school friends, whatever activities that you were in,
neighbors,
and we would all be coming together. Exactly. That could essentially be a recipe for disaster.
True.
It could be one of those things where everybody just kind of stays with the people they know or the groups that they know, but it became just one big party every time.
I think I've always seen, from childhood and throughout life, like I always envisioned, even before the treasure house really became a fully realized concept, an idea, or a business, I'm like, oh, I would just love to create experiences and opportunities where I bring together so many different people in my life, because I can just see everyone getting along, because everyone that I have had around me, they're all just really beautiful extensions of me, essentially. And so I just know that bringing them together would always be a great time.
Yeah. Well, you were right. You were spot on. So I'm excited to see, as we launch this adult version of the treasure house, to see all the people that come into this. So like, what do you envision there from like the childhood embodiment and how things went down there? Like, how do we see it moving now into this adult like treasure house?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I guess like the simple answer is just first of all, find places that we can all feel comfortable. I think hosting experiences, activities, events from home is a place that I always feel comfortable. Like, even we're here doing this now, like we're not set up in a studio. We're kind of like in the adult version of like my inner child's bedroom. And this is a space that I feel comfortable. So just really seeking spaces and creating and cultivating spaces where we can feel at home in our bodies, around each other, and just really creating activities and collaborating on ideas together that really just bring out that joy and that creative magic of our inner child. It's really the simple answer. Because we never lose that. And I think because so much of that magic started then, and I didn't have dreams of the treasure house then, or didn't see myself doing this then, but that vision and that dream in my heart has just carried with me, because that's essentially who I am. I'm here to be a creative person, and I want to continue to do that with people who feel like home to me. Even if I've just met you last week, you can identify that feeling when you meet someone. It's really just a feeling, that sense of home that people can bring out in you. So just want to keep doing that forever.
I want to talk a little bit more about the people that you see in this space, because again, taking it back to childhood and everybody, all kinds of walks of life, but also there's a vibe there. Your people, when you see them, when you meet them, you feel that. But I know we have a space in the home as Mystic Sister, but like, what else, who else, or how else do you see this home being filled?
So this answer will come in like a couple different parts.
Lay it on me.
Yeah. So essentially, like from childhood, but then if we travel a little bit ahead in time to when even the name the treasure house came into
Yeah.
being, that came years later when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I had moved to Chicago. And I had moved and relocated to go to school at a liberal arts college. And at that point in my life, I was really excited and I was going through my own coming of age, creative exploration and experimentation with myself as creative. And that city really helped challenge me and brought a lot out of me. But I was also really craving a community.
Yeah.
Like coming from being a child, a tween, a teen, and then kind of matriculating, into what would be like short-lived college years. I still wasn't finding my tribe and my people, my creative people that I identified with in those earlier years. As you do, you just start to find more of your people as time goes on.
Absolutely.
So when I moved to Chicago and I was enrolled in a liberal arts college, I was certainly surrounded in a very creative, Chicago's a very creative place, but just really like trying to hone in on like, okay, now that I'm here, who are my people here? And it took a while. I was there for about 2 years or so, but it took a while to really identify those people. But the treasure house, essentially, the name and really the concept of what this came to be, happened between me and someone who I was seeing at the time. We were friends turned lovers. And while watching, this is a little bit more of the origin of the treasure house and its name. We were like watching a nature documentary, and the narrator was like, this treasure house of creatures. And I was like, ooh, that name is sticking out to me. Got to do something with this name. So me and the person I was with, we thought about creating a platform to showcase and highlight and spotlight creative friends in our lives that were doing cool shit. So taking that idea, I was really excited about that. But the relationship itself was not formed in that harmonious vibe, that energy, that feeling of real true friendship that we have always had. Me and Shannon have known each other for like over 2 decades at this point, and we're still here. We like family, we are sisters. But that energy was not really being expressed there. And so that iteration of the treasure house, it being really the original, creation of it didn't last between us.
Right.
Because to me, whether I knew it or not, that feeling and that craving of true familial bonds and real collaborative, harmonious collaborative energy was not existing between us. And so I've always held that in my heart. So to really straightly answer your question, it's like really the people that align vision, heart, and spirit with what we would like to be creating, and really kind of ushering in this new reality of harmonious co-creation and collaboration, because nothing I ever want to do in this life I want to do alone. But we have to align. Our vibrations have to be in sync. We have to love each other to make anything beautiful in this world. And so moving on from Chicago, like I just kind of kept more of a keen sense of like really truly identifying. You could be creative, but like if we're not gelling, if we're not aligning in that vision, heart, and spirit, then like those are not my people. But yeah, that's like really the core answer.
Really cool. No, that's amazing. So childhood was kind of like the unintentional practice of what you're doing now, but as you got older, first of all, I think it's so cool. I love when ideas or creativity like just hits you from doing something mundane, like you're just watching a documentary and then just like you hear something and it's just like that's it. Like I love that feeling.
So PS, the Treasure House Collective was originally the Treasure House Projects because we were supposed to be like a project-based platform. So yeah, but
got it.
Yes.
But I like the
it's
collaborative
evolved.
Aspect of it.
It was always meant to be a collaborative aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to go to while it didn't work out with that original person where you guys kind of saw this idea forming through words, because I
Mm-hmm.
think the idea was already there. It's just
Yeah.
like the words attaching that to it, to be able to express to other people and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how we were born. Like, it takes a
Yeah.
little bit of heat, it takes a little bit of fire,
Yep.
it takes a little bit of friction. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that to me, it makes it just that much more powerful.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, what do you, I guess I'm thinking of symbols now. Okay, I don't know
Sure.
if I'm moving too fast.
No, that's fine.
But the symbolism of the treasure house,
Mm-hmm.
like, I get the name, but I also know that you've talked a little bit before about the different rooms or spaces in a
Mm-hmm.
home. So, like, how does that kind of complete the picture of the treasure house symbolically?
Yeah. So I will say too, like, kind of going back to the story that I just shared, the evolution of the treasure house, like, I guess subconsciously or unconsciously starting in my childhood, going to the stage where the names started to come into play, as really more of a concept. Just kind of from there, I had to go, although I held the vision of that and the relationship between me and that original partner dissolved, I needed to go and experience life a little bit.
Of course.
And so, kind of going away from home now for the second time, I like went abroad and like lived a life as an artist overseas, and it's another story for another day. But essentially carried that energy of that feeling of home with me.
Yeah.
And even while I was there, I was starting to feel that familial energy with some folks there. And I'm like, wow, like that sense of home, although leaving home, I'm carrying it with me and now starting to magnetize other people who I can maybe see building some of these dreams with. Like, the treasure house never left.
Yeah.
It's just kind of more in the back of my mind, and I now have to experience a little bit more of life. And when things didn't work out there, I essentially came back to my family home and had to kind of like literally unpack, go back to my childhood room and unpack some things. I brought home some lessons with me. And that kind of forced me to like internally do some inner home renovations.
Yeah.
So the larger dream, I think, was always going to be the treasure house. And that even came up early in my years in school. Like, I think I always had a vision to like build something bigger than myself. But after all these years of being out in the world and then coming back to my physical childhood home, I had to go internally and do some inner homework. And really clear out some spaces within myself that just
declutter, girl.
Do some feng shui, some inner feng shui, do some renovating, some just reorganizing and looking into some closets, some internal closets, looking under beds to find some monsters and do some shadow work. And all of this kind of like led me to do a lot more of like relaying the foundation based on like some of the values that I was raised on. Like, it's just amazing. Coming back home like really helped me reconnect with those values, kind of explore those internal rooms where I kind of revisited maybe some where my family members had their rooms inside of me, like, revisiting and having some internal conversations with my now ancestors and reflecting on things that influenced and inspired me. It allowed me to kind of refine and redefine what I really wanted this to be after having all of this life experience. So the house, although the name came to me out of nowhere, it's the perfect symbolism and representation for that feeling of home, that feeling of safety, creating a space within myself that feels like home, because that only will continue to magnetize more of those people that I want to be a part of this, that we're now building together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of these home like symbols and
Yes.
and references that just make so much more sense
Yeah.
now. And just to another point too, like one of my favorite quotes is a quote by Ram Dass that says, in the end, we're all just walking each other home. That's essentially what I feel like a lot of my life paralleled with, like the evolution of how the treasure house is being built. Like we meet so many people in our lives who will come in and out, and some people will stay and
Mm-hmm.
have residence
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
us, will live with us for a while, and some people will just be a visitor or a
Mm-hmm.
guest. But however people show up, we're all kind of helping each other get to that place of coming back home to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I want. And I hope that we continue to build
Absolutely.
the treasure house to be like, we're here to really help people come back home to themselves together.
Yeah. There was just so many things coming up as you were saying that.
Been meditating on this a lot.
So, you know, we do a lot of writing.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of thinking of some things now, talking about home and kind of being this living space.
Mm-hmm.
Like in our house during the day, it's a school space.
Yeah.
But then in the evening, you know, we clear off the table and it becomes a family spot for us to sit and eat, and the things you go through when guests come. But the whole idea there is that it's a living space.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about. But as I was doing some writing on it and thinking, and as you're talking here now, it's sending me into the Wizard of Oz. Like literally, there's no place like home. I'm thinking more of the Wiz, but like she was afraid to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but it took leaving to really understand, appreciate home, for some of those things to resettle on her heart. Yeah. And that's all I could think of, is there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Mm-hmm. Or even when Diana Ross was singing, when I think of home, I think of a place where love's overflowing.
It's so true. It's so true.
I'm not a singer.
And it's so funny you say that too. And I meant to, I mean, it's coming up now, but back when I lived in Chicago, which was like between 2008 to 2010, and the second place that I lived in where the treasure house name was created, we actually called that apartment the House of Love.
Oh, see, that's so beautiful.
And even then, you know, even from childhood, had parties and hosted friends over a lot. That was really a space where a lot of those creative people were coming together in that space. And we always had this red light on. So we called it the House of Love. But that is essentially how I want every home to feel. Yeah. Like it's a place of love. And that's the recreation of what, you know, I want the treasure house to always be, just an open door of love that is filled in every room.
Yeah. And then some of the other symbols you talked about with neighbors and residents and or guests, I should say. But it did have me thinking about neighbors and neighborhoods because of how different things are now. Yeah. You know, we grew up really knowing our neighbors, knowing people that live next door to us. And it's just not like that anymore. So I think it's really powerful and really beautiful to be creating something that, you know, is for the neighborhood even. Like there's this home, there's this idea, but so many people are welcome around it. And even if they're not directly involved, they're changed by it, because that, like, you're changing the community, you're changing the vibration of that space. And so I just think this is a really cool idea that's coming to life.
Yeah, I've actually really been thinking about the larger, the broader, bigger picture of what I've always wanted this to be. And because I've traveled a lot, I've lived other countries at this point, other cities, because I've met so many of my people in different places, I'm like, ooh, I see the treasure house being connected with other groups of people that exist, other collectives, other communities like us, and we come together. So whether the treasure house eventually exists as a physical location, or if it's always just going to be a pop-up
Mm-hmm.
concept or whatever, it could be all the things.
Mm-hmm.
It will be all the things.
Yes.
It's whatever it wants to be,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I think I've always envisioned this to connect and create and collaborate with other collectives in other neighborhoods that exist.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep this going, by just cross connecting and cross synergizing with other people in other neighborhoods and communities.
Yes. I love that. I love that. That's so awesome.
Yeah, like Mr. Rogers, like
Yes.
going and popping in on different, creatives and other people, doing their own things, but just making that connection and sharing other stories with other people.
Yeah, sharing that love.
Yeah,
That's
forever.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Anything else you want to know? What's your kind of vision? I mean, like I said, this is, something that's been with me for a while, but since you've been within this space with me and you're helping it grow, you're collaborating alongside of me, what are your dreams and visions for the treasure house?
I mean, this is something that I think is amazing because we always seem to be on the same page in some way.
Like twins.
So it really doesn't differ all that much.
Mm-hmm.
I really, as you're speaking, I'm like, yes, that is it. This is a space for love and truly growing, because I've been in spaces where it's said, oh, this is family, this is community, and it's not. And so I'm excited to really be able to say those words and mean it and show it through example. I think it has become, maybe, I don't know if trendy is the word or what, for companies to kind of try and make it feel like a family when it's actually not. So I just am excited to walk the walk and talk the talk and really show that love and how people can build and grow. I'm a military kid, so I'm constantly the new kid and constantly meeting new people and being in different spaces where I'm essentially the guest in that space.
Yeah.
And so I've always seen the beauty of what it's like for different communities to come together, different groups to come together, different personalities. Like, it just builds and grows on that, and our differences and different ideas, like that melds into something beautiful. And so that's what I really see about this. Is I'm excited to see who all is going to show up, and and just and see how we create and bounce off of one another and just support and show love for one another, because it's really needed. And so I just think that's why this is so special
in this world today. It's absolutely needed. Like the artists, the creative people, like, we're always at the forefront of every revolution. Like, this world is not going to, the world that we envision living in is not going to come into being by the powers that be. It's going to take the creative folks to create the new world that we want to be in, and it's only going to happen in a collective manner. Like, aren't we in the age of Aquarius or something?
And I think too, us being creatives, we know how sensitive we can be, sometimes even shy. And so I think that we kind of have a special power or superpower to be able to seek out those people, find them, and let them feel comfortable to shine and be their best selves. You can kind of get beat up as a sensitive person, not fitting in or not conforming or not, kind of making yourself smaller to fit. And we're like, no, just expand here and be yourself. And so
come as you are.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, you definitely said it. Be expansive, express expansively. And it's one thing to say don't be afraid, but it's just like, when love is present, fear dissolves. And that just brings me back again to childhood. Like, acceptance was just one of the words I can use to describe that ability for me to be myself, just because I've I felt that acceptance from the love that was around me.
Yeah, and I feel that from you.
Same.
Anytime I have an idea, or whether it's something we're doing together or just a personal, like, you're always just like, you got this.
Yeah.
Just encourage and love and reminding me that, that's already there within you.
Exactly.
So you've got it. It's already there for you, and you've already got it within you. And so that for me personally has been very strengthening. How do you feel like personally you've kind of changed as you've been putting these ideas together and growing with this movement? Is it like, how does it touch you just on a personal level?
Yeah, I guess, again, kind of what I was saying about, that kind of renovation period, or just
exactly.
that stopping point that I had, not really a stopping point of business or the development of the treasure house, but life had to happen. I needed to continue learning my lessons and experiencing what life was and other people were supposed to teach me for me to come to where I am now, and where I feel like the treasure house has evolved to. And I think just doing a lot of self-study. We're big into astrology and numerology, and there's a system called the gene keys, and then there's human design, and doing all of that inner work, the shadow work, the self work, and self-illumination study has again helped me like be more clear.
Yeah.
And see myself a little bit more clearly, and just kind of quiet some of that outside noise or unlearn things that were not serving me, or even serving the growth of this business and this creative entity that we're pouring into. But yeah, just doing that personal development and that inner work has really helped me clear my visions, or clarified the vision, sharpen the vision.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharpen the vision, because I've always been a person of vision and strong imagination. That's always been there. But really connecting the vision to the heart and leading with love, I had to learn how to love myself and heal myself, love myself to health, to life, back to life. But that's all a part of the journey, the natural growth process, the organic process, and getting back online with my natural rhythms, because Shannon and I talk a lot about how we really see ourselves showing up in the treasure house. Like, who do we want to be inside of the treasure house, and how does that connect to who we truly are? I had to really unlearn a lot of things to get to this point, and have done that in a very natural, give myself grace, time, and space to figure a lot of that out and come back to center. And I think from this point forward, we want to continue empowering each other to come as we are and show up as our true selves. And sometimes that just means not doing what society has told us a business is supposed to look like, a business owner or entrepreneurs are supposed to look like. We are doing something original, although there are a lot of collectives out there. We're bringing our true selves to the table, and a lot of that has just taken just getting to the vision, heart, and spirit connection of just who I am, and having that live and breathe and be an embodiment through the treasure house.
And I think that's important work to do, because in order to invite others who might feel timid or unsure or looking for their home, you have to have done that work, because that's how you have empathy and understanding and love for those that are going through the same thing. So I think that's really important to point out, that this isn't just I had this idea, I think it's really cool, I'm gonna put it out there. Like, this is hard work. This is something that is really coming from within, and from your own personal experience of what it's like to fall in and out of love with yourself, to know yourself one minute, be unsure the next. It's all a process and a path, and I think you're going to be a really good guide to others, because you've taken the time to, examine that within yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. And you know what? I feel touched and warmed by that. And I also feel really confident. I feel like I've definitely, I I can say that for myself, like it's taken a lot for me to feel like I'm walking my walk and talking my talk, because I've just been putting in the energy and the work and the years of experience. And now that I'm here, you know, I still got a path to walk. Absolutely. But part of that path is to help be a guide for others. And I can only give back what I've learned. And so this is part of it. This creating spaces where we can share our stories, that's part of the service work, you know. It's not just a place to have fun and be creative. It's a place to help others on their own personal heroes journeys, on their own personal journeys of continued self-discovery. Like, we are here, we're both guides, we're both healers in our own right, but we take the time to do a lot of our own work and a lot of our own self-healing so that we can give that back to our community.
Absolutely. And it's not easy, because that's not the kind of work that is very visual, that you can really show people, like, no, I am doing something. And oftentimes, you know, you can get discouraged by others. It's like, what are you even doing? It's like, I'm doing the inner work, man.
That's right. And that's the unseen work.
It's tough.
It's the unseen work. But I think by creating experiences and sessions and workshops where we can invite that sense of play and that sense of fun and that spirit of, you know, letting our inner child enter the space, like, it can help people feel like they can be vulnerable to at least even just share their own stories and experiences. Because although maybe we're certified or we have been doing the work, inviting people in to just share their stories, we can all help each other heal that way, you know, just by listening and sharing. So
I love that.
Anything else like you're curious about?
That was everything for me. Is there anything that was on your mind that you're thinking about? You know, we've kind of talked about the beginnings. I was really excited to hear, especially about the name, because I don't think I really knew that. There was a lot I knew, but
it's like over a decade ago.
Yeah, that was really cool. I don't know. I think that was beautiful.
Thank you, my friend. We're really excited about this next phase. I'm just excited to continue creating alongside of you and with you.
Yeah, I guess then that's what we can say. Like, what are some of the things that we're going to be creating that you can kind of expect to see from Treasure House? I know we had some pop-up ideas you've mentioned. I did talk about writing a little bit, so we'll definitely have pieces to read and inspire. You know, we have a conscience convo. We've got a podcast.
What is this going to be, our 4th season coming up?
That's wild.
Eventually, we're going to kind of ease people in and do some like reintroductions of really who me and Shan are. What is Mystic Sister as our duo that we're hoping to expand our sisterhood and invite more people into. Handcrafted goods. We're talking about small batch items. And just as someone who's always been constantly creative, I think as far as like my kind of daily, weekly, monthly rituals of just kind of, you know, allowing this thing to grow organically, but just still keeping in that creative flow. Like, I'm always just coming up with ideas, and whether everything shows up in the Treasure House or not, the Treasure House exists so that all of the ideas can come into reality at some point, whether by myself or with other people in collaboration. But just like, I just constantly allow myself to play and just create. And we like working on a seasonal framework too. So like, because I have so many ideas, as I'm sure you do too, something might only exist for a season. So whether it's a vlog, I've got vlog ideas, I've got, you know, writing series ideas. I would love to do events. I definitely want to do more like creative meetups. Like I was mentioning about like the childhood birthday parties and things like that my mom hosts. Shout out to my mom, who is like the OG creator crafter like in my household that I'm very inspired by. Huge inspiration. Just like having get-togethers where we can just have fun crafting and things like that. Maybe just hosting at my house, you know. So get ready for a lot of fun, a lot of creativity, and introducing other people eventually, like having guests on and just featuring other artists, like that original the original concept of just highlighting and spotlighting other people that we're also excited and inspired by too.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Yeah, and as you can see, my dogs need some attention. So this is also my family. This is Nico, and this is Koa. And I'm sure you'll be seeing more of them too.
Absolutely.
But I think they're saying it's a wrap.
Mention me? Yeah.
It's a wrap. Oh, lastly, I did set up a little altar tray for the two of us. You know, we're really big into our altar rituals and working with elements. On this tray, I have a photo of my childhood home as inspiration. We've got some tea, a candle, some smudge bundles. And I also pulled this card the other day. Yumi Sakugawa has these beautiful cards called the Cosmic Comfort cards. And desire has been a big theme for me. It's part of my human design where I find this connection, but I think this word can really speak for the treasure house and what I feel like we can tap into. Do you want to read?
Sure.
It says desire.
Desire. The original meaning of the word desire is from the stars. Our desires are divine. When we listen to them, we become illuminated as though we are made up of stars. What moves you to embody the brilliance of celestial bodies? Let your deepest desires light up every cell of your body until you are as luminous as the night sky overflowing with the incandescent sparkles of the Milky Way. Don't worry about the fulfillment of the desire. Simply bask in the beauty of it as you revel in its endless possibilities. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. We're here to be luminous, to sparkle, to share our creative magic. And I would say, like, I'm not really worried about this being a success. It's successful because we're coming together. It's successful because we exist and we see our visions through together in support with one another. And that's the beauty of it.
And it's successful because you're living your heart's passion. You're doing what it was you were called here to do. And that's more important than whether this is worldly recognized or trending, but you're doing what you were called to do.
That's right. Following our hearts, leading with love, and feeding our desires.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you, Shannon. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. And thank you all. We do have a Substack, which we will share, that is going to be pretty much our home base for sharing a lot of our creative projects. But of course, there's YouTube. And you can connect with us on Instagram and all of our other socials as well.
Yeah. So reach out, support, and we can't wait to love up on you as you love up on us.
Our doors are open.
Yes.
Thank you. Peace and love. Mystic Sisters out. Testing.
1, 2, 3.
Testing.
Don't pee on me.
Yikes.